Welcome back. Investigators are zeroing in on a motive, but law enforcement says the shooter in the attempted assassination of former President Trump used an AR-style semi-automatic rifle. He was about 410 feet away from where former President Trump was speaking. The suspect was shot and killed by Secret Service agents seconds after shots were fired. And we learned today that the gun was legally purchased by and registered to the shooter's father. Investigators have many more questions. And of course, on Capitol Hill, they are talking about launching an investigation into the Secret Service. Let's bring in CBS's Nicole Skenga. And Nicole, what did we learn today from the FBI who's leading this investigation?
Yeah, this investigation is being treated as domestic terror, this attempt on the former president's life. The shooter acted alone, according to authorities who point out this is in its very early stages. This investigation remains ongoing, but at this time, no mental health record by the gunman, no criminal history, no derogatory information known by law enforcement. The biggest unknown here, motive. CBS News has learned that the shooter here was a bit of a gun fanatic. In fact, he was part of at least one gun club in recent years. The T-shirt he was wearing during the attacks that unfolded yesterday boasted of a popular firearm YouTube channel. He was described by some of his friends as a shy loner, some of his classmates as someone who was more popular, a bit of a mystery around what he was like at school when he graduated just 2 years ago. Everyone's seemingly shocked by the events that unfolded. Moving forward, law enforcement currently transporting all of the evidence 300 miles southeast to FBI laboratories in Quantico, where they will go through the gunman's phone, trying to unlock it right now. They'll also look at the explosive materials, those bomb materials that were found today in the gunman's residence, as well as in his vehicle. Those are being described by law enforcement officials as rudimentary. You mentioned the AR-style weapon, the rifle that was used by the gunman. Of course, ATF and FBI tracing that gun back to the shooter's father. And in the coming days, there will be more interviews. We're told the family is cooperating, but trying to determine whether the gun was stolen by the gunman from his father or whether it was willingly given, perhaps a sign of future charges, Nora.
Nicole Skenga, thank you. I want to bring in CBS News' Scott McFarland because he was there at the rally when that shooting occurred. And Scott, what are some of the questions that you have because you witnessed this and you have seen the crime scene today?
Oh, we have a few, Nora. Let's start with what's happening on site right now. This shooting happened at a rally held at a family fair center where there's usually a farm show or a family picnic. Thousands of people were there, Nora, but we all were ordered out minutes after the shooting, told to leave our stuff in place, just get out. It's like somebody hit the pause button on that site as the FBI and investigators combed through it looking for some type of answers, some type of evidence. But the questions so many people have, including those of us who were in the rafters, how did such a monumental, unequivocal failure happen that what was supposed to be a uniquely safe event would be the site of horror? Linda Green got here real early yesterday. She wanted one of those good seats up front. And she told us she has that question too. Who let her and the others down?
I was like, why weren't they on that guy? If I heard that they had actually gone up on the roof, that somebody had seen, some spectators seen him going up the roof, well, why didn't they like get on it? And there were people talking about it, and he was like, well, we told them and no one listened. So where is the Secret Service when you need them, if we're there for protection?
You'd like some answers.
I'd like to have a lot of answers.
As the hours go by, these police barricades grow larger and wider. This is a unique, historic criminal investigation, and it's still underway, Nora.
And Scott, you cover Congress. Already there are calls to bring the head of the Secret Service up to Capitol Hill to answer some of the questions by these lawmakers.
Now, what's most striking, Nora, is there are bipartisan calls for an investigation into this. Congress doesn't do much of anything bipartisan anymore, especially not right now. But everybody wants to know Who let whom down? What should have been done that wasn't done? And what changes need to be made, even if Congress has to order them and fund them, to prevent anything close to this from happening in the future?
Scott McFarland, thank you. Want to bring in CBS News consultant and former deputy director of the Secret Service, A.T. Smith. A.T., so good to have you. Was this a massive security failure? How was that shooter able to get so close?
That'll be determined with the investigation that the FBI is doing, but obviously there is no explanation whatsoever for how an individual was able to get on top of a building and be that close with a long rifle. I mean, that is just unacceptable. And the FBI's investigation, working hand in hand with the Secret Service, will look at every aspect of this advance. Did they examine the posting in the right way, all of the perimeters that needed to be in place from the inner perimeter to the middle to the outer perimeter. And that outer perimeter is what the counter sniper team is responsible for. They're responsible for a lone gunman or a long-range rifle. So that question has to be answered, particularly looking at it in the context of how close this individual was.
You know, A.T., I spoke with a witness today who was outside of that secure perimeter, as was this gunman. He and his wife said they spotted the gunman, thought he looked suspicious, saw the gun, alerted local police, who did get close to the gunman. So it appears that the rally-goers knew that this was a potential threat.
And there again is another problem. You know, the police, obviously, when they're notified about something, they're going to react. But in this scenario, it seemed that the folks on the ground, the participants or those attending, saw more than law enforcement did. And again, that is something that has to be examined, has to be explained on a certain level. So I'm looking for those answers. And again, this is something that will come out of this thorough investigation. You've heard that the president has ordered, obviously, a full review, and I know that the Secret Service will cooperate and work hand in hand with the entities in order to accomplish that, but it has to be explained.
A.T. Smith, thank you. Also want to bring in CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd. And Samantha, I know you have worked with the Department of Homeland Security. You're familiar with a number of these issues. What stands out to you now that we are learning some new details today from the FBI?
Well, what stands out to me is that this threat of a lone actor or single individual engaging in mass casualty and high-profile violence is what we lived in real time, Nora, 26 hours ago. Lone actors or just single individuals are notoriously hard to detect and hard to prevent from engaging in violent activity. They typically don't talk to other people. This notion that this individual was a loner and didn't have a lot of friends is not surprising. And so it is harder to detect an individual who isn't in communication with others about plotting an attack. That really stood out to me. At the same time, I do want to emphasize we are really talking about two investigations right now. One led by the FBI into the perpetrator, and the other into this cascading set of missteps from an intelligence perspective, perhaps, and from an operational perspective that allowed the former president to nearly miss being assassinated. So we have those two concurrent investigations. At the same time, I am told by law enforcement sources that the online environment today is awash in calls for violence, conspiracy theories, and that is deeply concerning to law enforcement. In the aftermath of a mass casualty and high-profile event, I've worked, unfortunately, far too many mass shootings than I would have liked. There are often calls for retaliatory violence and copycat attacks. So law enforcement is juggling that along with the other lines of effort that I mentioned, Nora.
Sam, thank you. Want to bring back in A.T. Smith on that one more time, since you were deputy director at the Secret Service. The FBI indicating today there has been a spike in this worrisome political rhetoric online that could mean more violence. If you're looking at protectees, including the current president, Donald Trump, what do you do?
The Secret Service does monitor online activity, particularly when it comes to threats made against protectees. And as Sam said, that has increased over the last few days. It's increased dramatically over the last few years. And that's why the Secret Service initiated this section within headquarters to be able to monitor that sort of activities, whether it's groups making sort of statements or individuals, so they do monitor that. But again, the lone wolf is the one that flies under the radar. It's hard to detect, especially if they don't include their plans with others. And so it's a tough thing. It's an uphill battle, and it looks like that's sort of the profile of this individual.